Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today's video, on a nice sunny day, we're going to be restoring the cam cover. So it'll be over a few days because I've got to sand it down and obviously restore it, and I'm waiting for the gasket to come as well because I don't want to mess that up and then not have a gasket to put in. So today we're just going to be showing you how you remove the top of the cam cover. This is the VVT engine, so apparently it's a little bit different to the stock 1.8 and 1.6s, but it shouldn't be too difficult, and hopefully we don't break too many things so that it goes back together normally. And I've got to replace the spark plugs as well, so I thought I might as well do that while I'm doing the engine sort of stuff. But today it's the cam cover, so let me show you the engine bay to start off with. So here she is, the big hefty metal block. As you can see, it's an absolute state. It's not had much attention since day one, I'm pretty sure. So I do love the engine bay of this car, but it's going to look a lot better when it's got the nice red intake. And as I've not said yet, I'm restoring this to red. So it's going to be fully red, a nice red metallic colour in engine protectant, heat resistant spray, or whatever it's called. And then we paint in these letters white. Hopefully it'll work. I've got a touch up little pen thing that hopefully should work for painting the letters. So I'm going to start away and removing all the components off the top of the engine so that I can get this cam cover off, and then we'll get restoring it. So I thought I'd update you while I got a moment at just what's going on at the moment. So I've disconnected this hose here and this hose here that was on there. I've removed the leads from inside of there and removed all of the bolts that were in here holding it down. So now I'm just going to remove the cover. So as you can see, the engine's looking a bit different now. The cam cover is officially off, and it gives you a chance to have a good look at the inside of the engine. So she's looking really clean, so I'm really happy about that. And the timing chain belt, seems to be done recently because it's in really good nick. So I'm really pleased about that as well, and everything's looking good in here. So that also means that this is now officially off. I'm just removing this now, which is the VVT actuator, which has got the piping that comes across here. So I've removed everything else from this now. Here's the gasket, look, and I've labelled all the stuff in there so I know what order it all goes back in and stuff, so I don't get too lost. For now, I'm just going to finish taking the rest of the stuff off here, make sure I know where everything is, and then I'm going to mask off all the bits that I know I need to cover up, and on the other side as well, to make sure nothing gets in there, no muck or spray paint, especially with these sort of bits where there's seals and everything, so just be extra careful. And then get all this gunk off on here. It looks disgusting. I bought some of this, which ironically is called gunk, engine degrease, so I can put that on. Hopefully that will remove it a bit. And obviously some good old WD and a bit of fairy liquid, and hopefully we should get it all safe to eat off, as they say, so it's nice and clean so I can get spraying it. So now, before I use any more degreaser, I'm just going to give it a quick blast with the pressure washer to remove all the dust and the initial dirt off the surface of it before I get the degreaser on it. So it is now the next day, and I have left the gunk on to set overnight. Oh dear, it's dripping. So yeah, that's done a fairly good job of degreasing it. So now I'm just going to use some WD and just get the last bit off before I start sanding, because it needs to be grease free before I start sanding it, otherwise there's not much point. So I'm going to be doing that, and I'll be filming a few time lapses along the way to show you me getting it to the point where I can start painting it. So the tools for the job that I'm using, as I said, is this drill with this wire wheel on. I've got quite a few wire wheels, so that should be good. And then this electric sander as well, which has got, this is 240 grit on, I think, oh no, 120. So I'll just use this after I've used the wire wheel to clean up a bit more, and then I'll use the wet and dry. So this is the harshest, this is the medium, and the wet and dry is the least harsh. So I'm just going to do it that way, and then get the wire wheel really in these letters and everything to make sure I get all of the dirt off, otherwise the paint won't stick. So here is what it's looking like after one pass with this flappy disc style wire wheel. So it's looking pretty good. I've covered a lot of the surface area that's flat and available to touch, if you know what I mean. So like in these areas I haven't quite got yet, but that's when these things come in. So I've got quite a few that I can use. So yeah, it's going really well. I'm really pleased with how it's going so far. So I'll update you at the next stage. So I have used all of the different sizes of the wire brushes that I have, the wire wheels, sorry, and it is looking really good. I've got majority of the dirt off. In here is the hardest bit to get. Obviously you can see where I've managed to get and where I haven't, but I can get some sandpaper on the end of a screwdriver and get into those areas, so it's not too much of an issue. So I'm really pleased with how it's going so far. Next stage is sanding. So I'm just going to explain quickly what I'm using. This is a dual action polisher which I use to polish my cars, and this is I don't even know what it's called, it's just a little sander thing, I don't really know, but basically I've got stacks of sheets of lock and hoop sanding discs that go on here, and the same sort of deal with the triangle ones. So I'll use this to start off with the bits that I can get to, mainly just literally here, and then this for the more intricate areas because you can get in it with the pointy end. So hopefully that will bring it up really nice, and then with the bits where I can't get to, I'll use some other hand sandpaper. So the point we're up to now is the wet and dry sandpaper. As you can see, there's no scratches on it on the main surface. In here is still not perfect, but it's never going to be because you can't get in there. But it's all covered anyway, so you can't even see it, and this bit's covered as well with the VVT actuator, and the steel pipe runs across there, so a lot of it is covered. So the main bit I was interested in getting done was this bit, and this bit that's going to be on show. So I'm really happy with the way it's turned out, and now it's time for wet and dry. So as you can see, once you've done the wet and dry, it is absolutely perfect. I'm ready for paint because it is completely smooth. And all of the imperfections that you can see, you won't be able to see once you've got the primer and the paint on. So really happy with that. I mean, you can see how shiny it is already. So yeah, I'm just going to do the rest of it and then I'll update you. So you join me now at the point where we are almost ready to paint the valve cover, because it is completely sanded and then wet and dry sanded as well. And what I've done is I've tried to give the interior of it a bit of a clean as well, because you don't want to get any dirt in there, which is the whole point why we covered up the engine in the first place, is because we don't want to get dirt in the engine. So by putting that on dirty, it's just going to drop it all back in. So I'm going to make sure that I mask all that off as well to get no paint in it, so to not mess up the seal or anything as well. So just be extra careful when you're doing this, he says as he goes and treads on it. But yeah, I'm finished sanding now, so I'm pretty sure I just need to etch primer it and then normal primer it, and then we should be ready to paint. So where we are now is I have caked on loads of degreaser onto it to get off all the last bits of grease, and then I'm just going to spray it really hard with the pressure washer to get all of that gunk off the product that I've used. This is what I've used, engine degreasant. So I've brushed it on as it says, giving it a bit of agitation, and then just wait for it to dry off. So as you can see, the first layer of primer is on and it's looking beautiful. So I've done one layer of etch primer, and then I'm going to use normal primer, which is there, for the rest. and then get the red paint on as well. So the initial plan of action was to use Play-Doh and push it into the letters to mask them off, so that I could paint the red over it and leave the primer grey underneath. I've now used masking fluid to paint the inside of the letters, and then it forms like, it turns into rubber, and then you can pull it out. So hopefully it will mask the letters off, and then I can pull them out after. So here we are at the final stage. I've just cleaned it off and got all the dirt and dust off it, and we're about to spray it. I'm using brake caliper paint from Reinstalling, because basically it's the same thing, it's just red gloss heat resistant paint, so it will do exactly the same job as if it was engine enamel, so that's what I'm using. So yeah, I'm just going to do a bit of a time lapse now of me spraying it. It's not much to it, in the same way that you do the primer really, just left and right, and cover it 50% each time you go across. So show you how I do it now. So, as you can see, I've given it the final coat now, looking rather snazzy. It is really, really nice red. It's a really bright red. And not many bugs have died on it while I've been painting. There's one or two. As you can see, bugs literally just come on and die, and then I spray over them by accident, so it's a bit of a pain. But I masked off this bit here, which is where the VVT actuator goes. And the pipe goes across here into there. I should have masked off that really, and then masked off that as well, because that's the oil filler cap, and the spark plugs are in there. So I need to do the spark plugs actually once I've done this all, but this video is just going to be on this restoration for the cam cover. So I'll show you me peeling the letters off tomorrow morning when it's all dry, and hopefully they've masked properly and I can just peel them off and they'll be primer grey, the same as they were before. And all being well, it should go on nice and easily once all the other stuff arrives. So here it is, the finished product. So I'll give you a bit of a recap on what I did with. I'll give you a bit of information on what I did with these letters. So I originally masked them off with masking fluid, as I said, and then spray painted the whole thing red over it, and obviously masked off these areas here. So I've removed the tape from where they used to be, and here, which is where the two wires attach. And what I ended up doing is painting it white with this, which I'll show you in a sec. So it all went well, and I removed the masking fluid, but the masking fluid got on the edge of the letters as well, and like in between them, so like in there in the middle of the D, the masking fluid got on there. So when I removed it, it removed some of the paint with it. So what I ended up having to do was painting it in with this, which is my touch-up pen, as I said, for my Fiesta. So I painted the white letters in there, and then what I did was get a cotton bud and dab it in some of the red paint, and then go around where the paint had been picked up. As you can see now, it looks literally flawless, so I'm really pleased with it. The Mazda was awful. It had all of the paint was like ruined around the edges, and the obviously the letters didn't look like great in between them as well. So I'm really glad that I chose to use white and not black or grey, because it looks 10 times better for that. So here we are. Here is the finished product. As I say, I'm really, really pleased with it, and I just can't wait to fit it into the engine now. And as you'll see in another video that will be coming out at the same time as this pretty much, that I've cleaned up the rest of the engine bay as well while I was doing this this restoration of the cam cover as well. So I'm really pleased with the whole project, to be honest, and I just can't wait to get it fitted. So I'll show you what it looks like fitted now. So it is the next day, and I'm going to be fitting the cam cover back to the engine now. I've bought a brand new genuine Mazda gasket to go in there, and I think I'm going to have to put some gasket sealant, because I've heard that around these areas where it goes over the cams, it needs gasket sealant on the right angles, so that it can create a better seal. Because I did have oil leaks the last time, not oil leaks, but it wasn't as tight fit around here. I think it was because the gasket was a bit old. So I've got a brand new gasket to try and avoid that problem, and I'm just going to fit that in now. I've made sure to clear all the dirt and residue out of here where the gasket sits, and obviously clean the dirt out of here as well, and get all the dust out, because you don't want dust dropping in your engine, which is why we've covered it over. So yeah, I'm just going to fit this gasket now and then give this one last clean and then hopefully try and find some sealant for these corners. Also, something to note is I did a bit of reading up on how to fit the cam cover back onto the engine, and it's very specific, and I didn't realise how specific it was, but you've got to use an exact torque on each of them and an order of which way you tighten up the bolts. So you've got to do the middle ones and then go around, I think. But I've got an image with the number of which ones you do first and in what order you do it. So hopefully I shouldn't crack the bolts or the cover, which would be a nightmare because I spent all this time on it. So I'm going to make sure I take my time on it and do them finger tight, all of them, and then torque them up to the right torque and not do it over it. So hopefully we should be okay, but I'll keep you updated. So the next stage is complete. I've cleaned off where the gaskets are going to sit. I've put on all of the components that were on it before, made sure they're nice and tight. But yeah, I'm really glad with how it's looking. I just need to get it fitted now, so I'm just going to clean around the edges here so I get a nice good seal with the new gasket. Clean all the way around and get rid of the old gasket sealant there, because that will hinder the seal on the right angles. So get rid of this stuff and then tighten her up. So the first look at what it looks like on. As you can see, nothing's fitted yet. I've not put any of the bolts in, I'm just fitting it on snug. And then now I'm going to attach all the stuff. As you can see, it will just all get right back on. So I'm really excited to see what it looks like when it's done. I'll keep you updated. So about 10 minutes and a few sweaty armpits later, we've got all of the bolts tightened up. Not gonna lie, I was a little bit scared of either snapping the bolts or snapping the cover in some fashion. And it's really weird, you go around once, you start here, and then you go round like that, all the way around, and then you do it again, and by the time you've done it again, this one's loose, because obviously the pressure of the other bolts being tightened makes this one loose, so then you've got to do it again. And then I did it like 3 times actually in little increments. So here we are. I'm glad to finally say that everything is in. All I've got to do is plug them in and get these coil packs attached. But I'm going to end the video here because the majority of the project is finished, and as you can see by the rest of the engine bay, I have restored the rest of the engine bay as well, de-rusted it, resprayed it, sprayed all the components and everything, which I've covered in a different video. So yeah, if you've made it to the end of this video, please check out my other video on restoring the actual engine bay itself. And there'll be another video in the next few days coming as well with me fitting the new intake. So I really hope that you enjoyed this video and maybe you've learned something if you're trying to do it yourself. Please leave a comment down below if you need any help with anything regarding this project, if you need any tips or anything. I'll be happy to help. And please comment down below what you'd like to see as well next for the car in the next video. And yeah, I really hope that you've enjoyed it. Leave a like if you have enjoyed, and make sure you subscribe and turn post notifications on so that you can see when I next upload another video on this Project MX5. And yeah, I'll see you in the